When your dog licks you, do you really know what they are telling you? You probably think it is a kiss, affection, a cute habit, something dogs just do, the way they wag and circle and sigh. That explanation is comfortable. It is also wrong. What is actually happening when that tongue touches your hand is rooted in biology, in ancient instinct, in more than 15,000 years of shared evolution. And it is carrying information you have never been taught to read. Not because you have been ignoring your dog, because nobody ever told you there was anything to read. Today you get the actual science, the studies, the researchers, the mechanisms, not the assumption. You have been missing messages your dog sends you every single day. And the real reason, the one we get to at number 4, is the one that hits hardest. It is the one that explains why they come back to you again and again, when there is nothing in it for them at all. By the end of this, you will never feel your dog's tongue on your hand the same way again. Starting with the one nobody sees coming. 1. The tongue is a sensor. The easy explanation is that you taste good, salt on your skin, sweat after a walk, whatever you touched in the kitchen an hour ago. But that explanation falls apart the moment you look at when they do it. They lick you when you are clean. They lick you when you have not moved in an hour. They lick you hardest on the days you come home carrying something heavy that you never said out loud. Your dog has roughly 300 million olfactory receptors. You have about 6 million. And the tongue feeds directly into that system, pulling chemical compounds off your skin and delivering them to the vomeronasal organ, a dedicated structure for reading the chemistry of other living things. Researchers at Queen's University Belfast, publishing in PLOS 1, tested whether dogs could detect human stress from breath and sweat samples alone. They could. Not from your face, not from your voice, from your chemistry. Here is what is extraordinary. Your body has been broadcasting the whole time. That is not your dog tasting the salt on your skin. That is your dog running a chemical scan of your nervous system. Every hard day you thought you hid, they read it off your hand. But the reason they use their tongue to do it goes back further than you think. Much further. 2. The greeting that is 15,000 years old. The easy explanation is that face licking is a kiss, that your dog watched you, learned what affection looks like in a human house, and found their own version of it. But that explanation falls apart the moment you look at wolves. Wolf pups lick the muzzles of returning adults. They have always done it. It is a greeting ritual, food soliciting, appeasement, reunion, and it existed in the pack long before a human hand ever touched a canid. The adult comes back from the hunt. The pup rises, presses in, reaches for the face. You came back. The pack is whole. Over more than 15,000 years of domestication, the food fell away. The ritual did not. It survived, intact, and it found a new target. Here is the part most people never consider. You are the one who comes back through the door. That is not a kiss your dog learned from watching you. That is a ritual older than farming, older than writing, older than the wheel. And they are performing it on you. Every time you walk in, every single time. They run the oldest greeting their species has, and they run it for you. But there is a reason they do it when nothing has happened at all, when you have not left, when you are just sitting there. And if this is already changing how you see your dog, go ahead and hit like and subscribe. We cover what dog behavior actually means, not what we assume it means. 3. The self-soothing loop. The easy explanation is that it is a nervous habit, a tic, something repetitive and slightly annoying, something to be discouraged, something that means nothing at all. But that explanation falls apart the moment you ask what the licking is doing for them. Repetitive licking is a regulation behavior. Research in the veterinary behavior literature describes it as self-soothing, the rhythm, the repetition, the physical act itself associated with a calming effect on the dog's own body. It is one of the very few tools your dog has to bring their own arousal down. No words, no reasoning, no one to talk it out with, just this. Here is the part that stops most people. They do not do it alone. They could lick the blanket. They could lick their own paw. They could go lie down in the quiet room and work through it by themselves. They come to you, not the couch, not the blanket, not their own paws. You. That is not a bad habit your dog needs breaking. That is your dog using you to regulate their own body and choosing you over every other option in the room. You are not a surface they happen to reach. You are the place they go to be calm. Which brings us to number 4. This is the one. 4. The attachment bid. The easy explanation is affection. It feels nice. They like you. Warm, pleasant, and ultimately meaningless. The kind of thing you smile at and never think about again. But that explanation falls apart the moment you look at what is happening inside both of your bodies. Affection is a feeling. This is a system. In 2015, in the journal Science, Miho Nagasawa and her colleagues documented something that should have changed how everyone talks about dogs. Sustained mutual interaction between a dog and their owner drives an oxytocin loop. The dog's oxytocin rises, the owner's oxytocin rises, and each one feeds the other. The same feedback loop that binds a mother to a newborn, running between two different species, aimed at you. And at Emory University, neuroscientist Gregory Berns put dogs in an MRI scanner and gave them sense to smell. Their own person's scent lit the reward centers of the brain, above other humans, above other dogs. Let that sit for a moment. Not a trick, not a habit, not sentiment. Documented, measurable, and aimed at you. That is not your dog being sweet. That is an attachment system, older than your species and stronger than your assumptions, selecting you as its target. And it is doing it in a loop that changes the chemistry in both of your bodies at once. They are not tolerating you. They are choosing you with a system that does not know how to lie. Which is exactly why the last one matters so much. Because if this ever changes, it is telling you something. 5. When the licking changes. The easy assumption is that licking is just licking. Background noise. Constant, unchanging, meaningless. The same today as it was last year. But that explanation falls apart the moment the pattern shifts. Because a change in this behavior is a message. And it is the one message most owners never learn to read. Research published in the Journal of Veterinary Behavior looked at dogs presenting with excessive licking of surfaces, floors, walls, furniture, carpet. In the majority of those dogs, investigation revealed an underlying gastrointestinal disorder. The licking was not compulsion. It was nausea. It was discomfort with nowhere else to go. The same is true of licking that suddenly narrows to one place, a single joint, over and over. That can be pain. Constant licking of the paws or the skin. That can be allergy or irritation. A dog who begins licking at the air or at nothing, or who starts and cannot seem to stop, that can be dental pain, anxiety, or in older dogs, cognitive change. Here is what matters. This channel is not a veterinarian. If your dog's licking changes suddenly, escalates, or fixes on one spot, see yours. That is not your dog being annoying. That is your dog telling you something is wrong in the only language they were given. They have spent their entire life reading you. This is the part where you read them back. Every video on this channel begins the same way, with a question most dog owners have never stopped to ask. And then we go looking for the real answer. Not the simplified version, not the comfortable assumption, the actual science, the studies, the behavioral research that takes years to surface and rarely reaches people in a way that feels like a real conversation. That is what we do here, every single time. If this video gave you something, a new way of seeing your dog, or a moment that made you stop and think, then do one thing before you leave. Hit like. Drop a comment and tell us where your dog licks you: the hand, the ankle, the face the second you sit down. And we will tell you what that one is usually saying. And subscribe so you do not miss what we are putting out next. Because the more you understand your dog, the better life gets for both of you. And that is always worth showing up for. So the next time it happens, the next time that tongue finds the back of your hand while you are looking at your phone, understand what you are actually receiving: a greeting older than the wheel, a chemical read of a day you never described, a nervous system reaching for the one thing that calms it, an attachment loop running in two bodies at once, not a habit, not a reflex, not nothing. Out of everything in the world they could have reached for, every smell, every surface, every warm place in the house, they reached for you.